Hi, welcome to North of 48. It's March 11th, soon to be March 12th, as we're getting on into the year 2022. Things are just going our way, aren't they? COVID seems to be bombed out of existence. Bombs will do that. Notice we haven't heard too much on COVID, but it is still a thing. I know in Canada here, not saying the truck drivers and the protests did it, but all the mandates for masks and everything seem to be going away. However, if you're an American baseball player and you're coming up to Canada to play this year against the Blue Jays, you have to be vaccinated or you're not getting in the country. And their players' union just agreed that you're not getting paid for it either. So there's that. There's also the fact that Colin Kaepernick is still not quarterbacking a team in the NFL. If you remember, he's the guy who took a knee during Black Lives Matter to protest the anthem because African Americans were getting killed by police. And he got run out of the NFL. And he has yet to find a home. He says he's in the best shape of his life. And on March 9th, in the course of routine maintenance, India accidentally sent a high-speed flying object crashing into the eastern city of Mayan Chanu in Pakistan. Luckily, nobody was hurt. They blame a technical malfunction led to the accidental firing of a missile. The government of India has taken a serious view and ordered a high-level court of inquiry. Well, that's pretty lucky, a missile getting off to another country and nobody getting hurt. It's kind of rare these days, don't you think? So much going on in the world and so much we have to do. We had truckers' protests, we have COVID, now we have war in the Ukraine. Let's talk about it. Thanks for being here on North of 48.
Образом согласился бы с предложением Николая Платоновича о том, что нашим, так сказать, западным партнерам можно дать последний шанс с тем, чтобы предложить им в кратчайшие сроки заставить Киев пойти на мир и выполнить Минские соглашения. В противном случае мы должны принять решение, о котором сегодня говорится.
В противном случае вы предлагаете начать переговорный процесс?
Нет, я...
Или признавать суверенитет?
А я
Говорите прямо.
Я поддержу предложение о признании...
Поддержу или поддерживаю? Говорите прямо, Сергей.
Поддерживаю предложение...
Так и скажите, да или
говорю,
нет.
Да. Поддерживаю предложение о вхождении Донецкой и Луганской народных республик в состав Российской Федерации.
Да, мы об этом не говорим, мы этого не обсуждаем. Мы говорим о признании их независимости или нет.
Да, я поддерживаю предложение о признании независимости.
Хорошо, пожалуйста, садитесь. Спасибо. Владимир Александрович.
In the latest speech from President Zelensky of Ukraine, he has a special statement for Russian mothers.
Хочу ще раз сказати для всіх російських матерей, особенно для матерей-срочников. Не отдавайте своих детей на войну, на чужой земле. Не верьте обещаниям, что их отправят просто куда-то на учения или просто куда-то в небоевые условия. Проверяйте, где ваш сын. И если у вас появляется хоть малейшее подозрение, сомнение, что вашего сына могут отправить воевать против Украины, действуйте. Действуйте немедленно. Не отдавайте своего сына на смерть или в плен. Украина никогда не хотела этой чудовищной войны и не хочет, но будет защищаться столько, сколько придется.
Of course, I'm going by the supposition that everybody knows there's a war going on between Ukraine and Russia. And it's pretty hard to miss, pretty hard to not feel worried about this, especially when Putin has threatened saying he's got nuclear arms, which he does. Interesting to note that Ukraine gave up the nuclear arms during Obama's presidency, and Russia gave assurances that Ukraine would be all right if they gave it up. And now we have the Iran nuclear deal may be falling apart as a result of Russian demands that any future Russian business with Iran be exempt from Western sanctions. And we all know that the Western world has put sanctions onto Russia, making it hard. It'll be hard on their people. The ruble, their money has collapsed, and they've made some deals with China. There's a pipeline going from Russia to China with gas. China's reached out, and they're making a banking deal between Russia and China. You kind of wonder, well, does that mean the US dollar won't play a part in their economy anymore? I mean, it's probably what they want. Towns in Ukraine are being bombed. Mariupol is surrounded. They haven't given up yet. Kiev, they say the Russian convoy, the tanks, are 2 to 3 miles outside the city. So prepare for the worst. Ukrainian defense forces, though, are doing remarkably well, and they're holding their own against overpowering odds volume of people. The Russians play defense, and the Ukrainians who have learned from the Russians also play defense. So that's why this is a slow war. People are saying, well, wasn't Putin going to come in and just clean house like really quick? And the bets were, yeah, that they were. I bet you a lot of people thought. But even with the US into Iraq, it took them 6 weeks of bombing before they got into the major city there. So there is that. And Russian forces are expanding their offensive in Ukraine to the west for the first time. Major cities, including Dnipro and Lusk, were struck Friday. Closer to Kiev, fighting has intensified. It shows the 40-mile-long Russian convoy near Kiev has largely dispersed. Ukrainian authorities have reported limited success in securing the evacuation of civilians from the worst affected areas Friday, with efforts set to resume on Saturday. Joe Biden, the U.S., along with G7 and European Union, will move to suspend normal trade relations with Russia. I actually thought that was done already, but obviously not. They're a favored trading partner, and they're going to remove that status from Russia. That means Russian goods will be taxed and have duties placed upon them. Now, President Zelensky has asked for air cover over Ukraine to stop Russian airplanes and to be able to join NATO and to join the EU. So far, he's been denied all three. However, the EU is seriously looking at admitting Ukraine into the European Union. But Zelensky came up with another plan, which is kind of neat, with negotiations ongoing between Ukraine and Russia. Zelensky's Servant of the People Party has proposed a new security agreement as an alternative to the country joining NATO. They believe that in such an agreement, the guarantors may be the United States, Turkey, and even including Russia. By signing such an agreement, Russia will have legal obligations to recognize Ukrainian statehood and refrain from threatening the Russian people and government. I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, very, very much so. Now, the Russian news agency TASS has a couple of promising headlines. It says, Kremlin does not rule out meeting between Putin and Ukrainian president. And Putin says Russian-Ukrainian talks make certain progress, which is great. Once the negotiations get up to Putin and Zelensky, hopefully we'll be able to make some progress and stop this war. Now let us go to a point that's been bothering me. This war, regardless of how it started, it's wrong and it shouldn't be a thing. There's 3 million people who are now refugees out of the Ukraine into Poland, Moldova, Romania. We have quite a few coming to Canada. Be women and children and old men and old women, with people between 18 and 64 staying to fight in Ukraine, fighting for their homeland. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about Nazis. Yes, they have white supremacists or nationalists in their army, but Russia does too. It's a thing that they have to get under control, but the percentage of them, from what I have been reading, is actually quite low. That being said, started the war. Who do I blame? I blame the United States and I blame Russia. This is the thing in the year 2022 that shouldn't have happened. Anthony Blinken, the state secretary for the U.S., wouldn't talk to Putin for 2 weeks prior to the war. He was ticked off at him. Passive aggressive much? When the stake of the world, or the world is at stake, you talk, you negotiate, you find a way. I just have a feeling that these players are all looking at the Ukraine, and it's like one big game of risk. Well, they're not going to feel the impact of it personally. Well, a lot of other people are. There's hospitals being bombed. There's people dying. In a country in Europe that has had its share of wars. I blame these two countries for not figuring it out quicker and better. And I blame them for bringing us this close to a doomsday scenario. All it takes is one pissed off person, one pissed off sub-commander who's got a nuclear missile, one pissed off Air Force person who doesn't listen to orders, or one pissed off government official and the bomb started flying. We won't win this. If nuclear bombs, warheads start going, we won't win this. And to top it off, we have North Korea again rebuilding their nuclear arms program and testing rockets. Man. We have the United States going down to Venezuela to see if they can get them out of Russia's orbit. Who'd have thought that, right? The United States was... Guaido is the official president in their eyes. Well, it's Maduro who's still there. Now they're talking to Maduro. I blame the policies, the foreign policies of these individual countries that have led us to this path. Now, wherever you are, if you're in Europe, if you're fighting the fight, if you have friends or relatives, or if you know people, or if you're just trying to survive, because now the cost of products, the cost of a gallon or a liter of gas is just skyrocketing, and it's getting tougher in this world. Again, it's going to come from the people to say no, because I think a lot of these government people, they lose touch of what a common person goes through, of what a regular person goes through. And that's a shame. There's oligarchs all over the place, really rich people. I know the Russian rich people are parking the yachts in the Indian Ocean thinking that they won't get confiscated there. And we're going to have people on both sides. On Russia not being able to buy food. We got wheat prices going up because the Ukraine and Russia are number one in. Russia's the number one country for growing wheat, and I believe Ukraine is number 5 or number 7 in the world. And a lot of that wheat goes to China, and a lot of the Mideast will be affected because of the lack of wheat. So, if you pray, let's pray for an end. And if you don't, that's fine. Between you and me, we didn't need this war, but it's here. I'm going to talk to you real soon. This has been North of 48.